Okay, go.
Well, you better be ready, because it's there.
It's who cash.
No, God, I'm sorry. You should turn one of them off. Consider. That's too much cash. So I've put in the title that we're ready to piss off the Bendy fandom.
There's a Bendy fandom?
I guess, probably.
There's a Bendum?
There's a Bendum. There is a Bendum. I imagine that, I mean, like, it's this, I remember this game had, like, a lot of, like, traction for, not this specific one, but Bendy as a whole, and people really liked it, and from, like, the get-go, I was just like, I don't see the appeal, I don't understand why, what, but, you know, maybe there is a big Bendy fandom out there. Maybe they're gonna come in and be like, oh, did you know you can hit square to block, and, this is how far I am in my base wrench only run, I don't know.
We already alienated the Kingdom Hearts fandom, so,
yeah.
you know,
And I'm ready...
I assume that's a more powerful block than the Bendy fandom.
I am ready to block more fandoms, I think is what I'm getting at. I'm excited to just piss more people off.
Always free to choose.
Wow, now they're too quiet.
The man chooses. A slave obeys.
No.
This choice of first line in your Bioshock knockoff.
Right. So this is gonna be interesting because it is just reskinned Bioshock but done real bad. God, they're so quiet now. The menu was so loud, and now everyone is too quiet because they want to make me look like a fool. And they've done a great job.
If we could close the menu or not.
Yeah.
We were just stuck there forever.
Yeah. Ma'am, where were you drawing? Your pen isn't anywhere near anything.
There you go, little guy. And only 800 more frames to go. No way I'm getting through tonight without some coffee. Probably some downstairs.
What are your fingers doing?
Oh, that's not handwork. Why is she doing that?
I think her hand's broken.
Yeah.
For a little adventure.
Can I have my menu again? Oh, there we go.
Oh, menu is much louder than the game.
Yeah. So let's audio up by 2 clicks, I guess.
And we'll just try not to pause because the menu's too loud.
Yeah. Oh god, the sensitivity is also miserable. Hey, that whole thing about not opening the menu, I lied. That is still... this is me moving my mouse, like, all the way across my mouse pad. Oof! Cool, we're off to a great start, then.
So we maxed out the sensitivity, it's still a bit low.
Ma'am, how are you underlit? Like, how are you lit from underneath? How is this working? It's fine. I know very little about these games. So that's gonna be fun. Probably. Do you think we're gonna get, like, deepest lore?
I thought you watched John Wolfe at least talk about him? Is that as much as you know?
I watched John play this game, and I say watch, okay. I mean vaguely. Yeah, it was on in the background. I heard him hooting and hollering a lot about this here video game. My god, it's dark. And I did play, like, the first chapter of the first game, and was subsequently very bored. So
That's
so
the good one, right? That's the one people liked initially.
I think
Really?
probably.
He went downhill from there.
Yeah. Also, why don't we just have our keys with us? I'm not allowed to run. Is the other thing.
Put this here.
We'll put Bendy here.
Why can't I knock him over?
Why can't we bend him?
I gotta bend him. Let me
Gotta
bend
bend
him. Let me bend him. Take. Oh
Here's
God, the
key.
camera wiggling around constantly is too much.
There was an option to turn off view, Bob, but I'm not sure if it just meant while you're walking.
Oh, that's a good. The graphics? Controls. View
View
swing. Smooth camera.
I am a hater of view, Bob, in any game always.
Yeah, it's not.
Less so than motion blur, but you know.
I like how there is still Bob. It's just less left and right. So you can only get rid of the left and right movement, not the up
Okay.
down movement.
Nice.
Already annoyed. The
That's
game you're
technically not the
Well,
part that
annoy I've ever
would
seen.
be considered like view, Bob, in a
Right?
purely grammatical sense,
not.
right?
Right?
We've turned off view
Is that
sway.
there?
This game is too loud and simultaneously too quiet. Why am I bothering looking at anything? There's nothing in any of these.
We can search all the filing cabinets and they've all just got files in them.
Just
Who would have
imagine.
suspected?
Not in my video game. Okay, I was perusing the the reviews of this game prior to starting, and there was a lot of people who were like, "This is the scariest video game I have ever played."
Wilson,
Oh,
Who is
dang.
the sketchy man?
you scared me to death.
So, you know. It's got a lot
This
to live up
fucking
to.
guy.
This is a very evil man.
This is Igor, the janitor. He's new.
Wandering around all by yourself. Mind if I step in?
I do mind, actually. You're not allowed. You
Um,
weirdo
I just-
vampire. Stay out.
Audrey,
It's not a vampire. It's just
you look
a
like you
wiggly
could
idiot.
use
He needed me to invite him into the elevator. I think he's a vampire.
Well, he was already in the building.
Yeah, but this is my elevator?
Do you live in the
Oh.
elevator?
so,
Yes.
It's been really nice.
Do
this
you
week.
not?
just beautiful.
Yes, it has been really nice this past week.
What was that? Tell me we're not trapped in here.
Don't you worry, my dear.
Hi, Ojin. I'm gonna drink the ink. I'm gonna drink the ink, and I'm gonna bend the boy.
Happening a
Let me recite my poetry to pass the time. Okay, we're good.
Good thing we had a janitor in the
fine.
elevator with us.
See, he's on the level.
You're right. I'm sorry. I've judged the man. I've judged the man with the very evil sounding voice.
It's
A little
just-
too
you
soon.
You can't just say that about a poor boy. He just sounds like that. That's just his voice.
I can say that about people. It's fine.
That's just his voice.
Okay. Well, I'm not. Listen. Just because you're evil,
Maybe he thinks your voice sounds evil.
I'd accept that. I know what I am. Are you?
You're one of those blue-haired commies.
It's true.
Few more switches to go.
You got me
Follow me. You'll be perfectly safe.
Sure. All right.
I fucking love this guy.
Whoa! That man is. He looks very funny. Man,
play as old
Joe.
Wilson and just make people uncomfortable, but be generally well-meaning.
Right? Listen, if that's not an Andrew Ryan, I don't know what is. Yeah, I did see like a lot of people being like, it's like the perfect combination of Amnesia and BioShock, and it's like if by that you mean they've just ripped off BioShock, then yeah, sure.
I would not like.
Consider just play
I would
BioShock.
not consider it an improvement if you crossed BioShock with Amnesia over just
Right?
BioShock.
Right? Yeah. Yeah. So stompy. Can I help you?
Looks like someone's been messing with the exhibits. There should be something on these pedestals. Audrey, sweet Audrey. Do an old man a favor and go find them. I'll tend to the power.
Uh-huh. I am gonna turn the voices up a little bit. I'm sorry. We're just gonna keep fucking around with the settings.
Well, they do seem to have like randomized the volume on everything, and the opening the fucking cupboards is 10 times louder than any other sound in the game.
Right?
Oh, you're gonna have to hit the man with the wrench. It's gonna make me sad.
No, I'm gonna have to put the wrench there, I guess. So,
We'll get another one then.
am I finding... Well, I don't know what that is.
What do we do if we're attacked by a spider splicer? Getting out of the bathysphere?
Guess we die.
I guess so.
Is it feet?
That looks like a book.
Oh, you're right. That's a book. That's a gear.
You look like feet, Archer. Sorry, Archer.
That's a bendy.
That's a bendy.
That's a bendable boy. That's a music. And that's an ink pot? Paint?
We'll assume.
Bit o' paint? Oh, I guess I'm taking that then. There's our music. Can I take this? He is a cute little guy, is the unfortunate thing.
Yeah,
But-
it's a little scamp.
I mean, I guess that's why they made him, right? So they could sell him.
Yeah.
It's just you should just
Just
make
look good in Funko Pop form. Pull the trigger on that.
Horrible. What else am I missing? Does it matter? Do we care?
We need a book.
I think you mean feet. Actually,
We need feet. Do we have feet?
That's a good question. Can I see my feet?
You got feet.
I also have tits, but we
You
got feet.
tits, but also feet.
So book and cog. Understood. I wish. I think there might be a cog in here. Something tells me. Yeah, we'll just take that. That's fine. I'm sure it's unimportant. I think my general understanding about this dang video game is that it suffers from having a lot of really great artists on board, and not a one of them knew how to make a video game.
Have we checked all the books on the bookshelf, by the way?
No.
For any books about feet. There we go.
I just didn't listen. I don't know what a book is.
There's the book.
I walked right past and just did not register that that's what those were. Listen, it's a day. It's a good thing you're here.
To remember books.
To remember what a book is. We found the things, Old Man Wilson. Is that your name?
Only one thing
Jess
left
Wilson.
to do. Pull that switch.
Pull the lever,
Oh,
Kronk!
the lever, Kronk.
Oh,
Oh, Audrey. The things you've set in motion.
well, now I'm gonna get ink on my
Is
shoes.
calling us, my dear.
This is horrible.
Can't you hear it?
What?
Don't you shush me!
We're going home.
Stay back.
Listen to me, Audrey. Pay attention to these last words. Because very soon, you will forget everything.
Let go.
Come find me, Audrey.
You're right here! Why do I need to...
Find me, and I'll show you your purpose.
Okay.
Found you.
I'll show you the truth.
I'll show them! Says Wilson.
Such a silly guy.
Now we're being baptized in ink.
Just like Bioshock.
Just like Bioshock.
There's always a man.
Oh,
There's
no.
always a lighthouse. Oh, Jesus. Oh my God. What the shit, Bendy? Yeah, music should be down, I think.
Oh my god, I can't. Ah! What the fuck?
We should make the music quieter.
I would agree with that.
I need
How?
voices to be way up and everything else can go. I don't even know. What?
Who the
Why
fuck
did you do
mixed
this?
this game? Who did the
Yeah.
audio in this game? I need to talk to you. Probably
Don't-
write to you because I can't hear anything anymore.
Yeah.
Fucking hell. We did get gooped.
What's wrong with me?
Sign at you.
You just have ink on you. Just go take a bath. Relax. Wilson knows your purpose.
What's happened to
I
you?
know it's getting off in a bath. Takes ages.
Yeah, but you know.
It's gonna be
What
a
else are you gonna do?
problem. This is a disaster.
Oh!
You gunked.
We got gooped. Okay. Look here. Music, get the fuck out of here. My god. Effects, also get out of here.
And then dialogue can be high and master volume for the mysterious extra sounds that don't come under any of the other headings. Can
Holy shit. Every great story begins in mystery. Although things may be dark at the start, the truth will illuminate your way. Illuminate. Sorry. Don't be afraid of who you are. Fear only what you may become and banish it away. My best pal. Okay.
that's
well,
how I sign on my last.
now the effects are a little too quiet. Is the thing. We'll try there for right now, and then
So
if it ends
within
up
the
being...
category of effects, some of them are just too loud and some of them are just too quiet.
I
And
think
there's
so.
nothing you can do about it because you can only change. Because the game was mixed by a madman.
It was mixed by 4 different people, all of various levels of hearing, and no one checked anyone else's work. Are those missing? Those are missing. Okay. There are people who are crying. I'm sure it's fine. Oh, found them. The snapping of the camera to start an animation is very jarring. Can't say I like that. It's fine. I'm just gonna nitpick literally everything in this
Do it.
fucking game. It's gonna be great. The nitpicking, not the game.
We did Parasite Eve and it was too good. We have to play a game that's bad and just be horrible now.
We have to remind ourselves that bad video games are out there and they can hurt us. Jeez! You'd think I was drowning kittens the way these people are looking at me. Never seen such disappointment in a person's eyes. But
Did
this
you
is
do
the
the
way of
sound
things.
mixing for this game, Telly Western? Jeez.
Is Telly who we need to be mad at? I'd believe it.
Yum.
But this is the way of things. If management can't pay their bills, then the bank takes the goodies back. Still, it does break me a bit knowing how much I loved them old cartoons this place used to make. Oh well, times change. Life moves on. Well, Telly, you've destroyed my ears, so I don't know that life will actually move on. Ew, see to crouch? I still can't run either. Oh, sorry, Wilson. Joey! Jack and I have been wondering if we could meet with us, if you could meet with us, considering the current situation. We've been with you for many years, and we feel we have contributed to the success of Bendy in the past. Our interest is purely in keeping the company strong. We just want to help however we can. Let's talk. Sammy Lawrence.
Turn up the machine. This is Wilson, your friend, your protector.
I think it's gonna be like a big twist, like
Days,
across the way through the game, where he turns out his real voice is just like a really dodgy gangster accent. You thought I was your lovely friend Wilson, who anyone would trust with their life.
Please. I need this. I need this. Wilson, please be a weird, not gangster. I have to
Fucking love
change.
It Bioshock Frank Frontier, just how dodgy his voice is. Like, it's a dodgy Irish accent all the way through the game, and then it's a way worse voice at the end.
Right?
Like, he does his real accent.
And it's not very good. I can't remap any of the controls. So that's gonna
Oh.
be fun.
Oh.
Or at
That's
least I can't do it from in game. So
if any of the bendable boys are around, like that is a normal thing you might expect to be able to do in a video game.
yeah.
Is rebind the controls.
I'd like to listen. I'm used to control being my crouch and not C, because that's a weird place for me to move my index finger. But
Just
it's
notes for
fine.
now. It's
Yep.
cool in video games if all the sounds are like within the same sphere in terms of volume.
Just because we love Deadly Premonition around here does not mean
Yeah.
we need you to mimic the sound mixing in Deadly Premonition. It's bad, is the thing. Consider.
Get the kazoos out if you're gonna.
The only acceptable thing to be incredibly loud. Is there still nothing? Great, cool, love that.
I'm
Will I-
looking everything and there's nothing anywhere.
Still can't run unless maybe they've made run a button that's not shift.
Maybe it's R for run. Who the fuck is this guy?
That was that supposed to be scary?
It's such a weird cartoon, man, that like it's too confusing to be scary.
Right?
There's too much going on there.
That man has a lot happening on his face.
He has one
Oh,
Mickey Mouse
no.
glove.
Sorry. Yeah, the one Oh, they don't offer we don't get captions for these. That's
cool.
a problem.
Yeah.
Is that I vaguely remember that. Oh, okay. So we can have them
Oh, horrible.
in the menu. We're not listening to any of those. If you're not going to provide captions for them when you start playing them, then I do not care. I'm not going into the menu every single time just to know what a man is saying.
Was there an option for that in the main menu or?
To get captions?
Yeah.
Subtitles.
Nope, subtitles is on, so...
Subtitles is on. We do have subtitles.
Subtitles is on, you're just not allowed to see them.
Yeah. Who needs to
Caption
see?
Max is doing the work in the background. He's not allowed to share his results.
Oh.
Oh, cool. It's one of those games.
Mm.
Love that.
Great. Love to see it. Oh boy, this is gonna be a thing, isn't it? Nothing? Absolutely nothing. Love that. Rude. The flashing of the lights. I mean, flashing lights in general, very obnoxious. Don't like it. But there's something particularly jarring about how they do these that makes my head hurt. What's that? A gent battery? Battery.
Battery for gents.
Well, it's not for me then. I don't want to hide. Oh. What's that? As the winds are changing around here, I'm asking myself, Sean, what are you doing? There's a whole world out there. Places to see. Family to spend me days with. This here job is just a job. I'll have others like it. No worry there. But the important thing is, we should remember to live. I think it's time I did just that. Okay, that's fine.
Sean, you write in a very heavy accent, and that's slightly unusual.
You know, they sometimes you just have to write in the accent you speak in just to make sure people know. It's very important that they understand.
We can look at all the trash cans, and they're full of trash, and we can look at the trash.
Oh boy.
What do you mean this is a bad game?
I mean, it's out of order. I will continue to look in every single thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Excuse you.
You're like,
What? Run and hide? He's gonna know where I. Oh god, he's fast. Well, I guess I'm hiding. You don't know where I am. Okay, listen. That's too loud.
Is this Abraham Lincoln?
Abe, come back.
Unbelievable. Of all
Sir?
people, honest Abe.
I wouldn't drink too much of that if I were you. It helps patch you up.
But the
the
game said it
aftertaste.
was food.
It's not
Right?
good.
You
Easy
don't
now,
drink
I'm not
food,
gonna hurt
silly.
you. But you need some help.
Don't touch me.
Yeah, what is happening right now?
What is
Well,
this
Abraham
awful
Lincoln
place?
is a goblin
Yeah,
and he's
I
mad.
remember my first day
Blah,
on
blah,
the
blah.
line. I know.
He's coming
it's
back to get
scary. But
vengeance
you're
on
actually
John
pretty
Wilkes
lucky.
Booth
The
for
machine
shooting
could have
him.
turned you into a searcher.
You mean that thing that attacked me?
No, that's a piper. And he's part of a gang, so
Deserves
be
it. They
careful.
were very
I
rude.
don't understand any of this. I can't think. It hurts.
You'll catch on pretty quickly. if you
I
can stay
can't
alive.
use my brain.
Lesson 1.
Same.
Searchers don't have legs and they tend to swarm. Look, it's not good to stay in one place for too
She's
long around
saying words
Keep
at
moving
me.
and stay close to the shadows.
Yeah.
Take
And I'm
my
not
advice. Head to the upper
Sure what
levels.
any of it means.
It's safer there.
Can I come with you?
You can't. I'm sorry. I have
Well-
a wolf. He doesn't care for strangers.
A wolf?
When,
Like I said, you'll catch on.
I don't think I will.
when
hope
she
you
said,
need
I
help.
have a wolf, I thought
Oh, and
she
one
was
more
saying,
thing.
I'm a lone
Above
wolf.
everything
I go my own way.
stay away
I can't be
from
held
the
back
demon.
by you.
Oh, you'll know him when you see him.
Does
Okay.
he look like Abraham Lincoln?
And he does anything that moves.
I
mean,
don't
I-
think the guy we saw was the guy that
What's
she's
your
worried
name?
about.
They call me Alice. I'm not very fond of it.
It would be very
I'm
funny if it
Audrey.
is.
Right.
Well, Audrey.
'Cause he was a silly goblin.
Welcome to the studio.
Okay. Well, that happened. Things have occurred.
It's condolences, actually. I don't know what you were talking about.
You just like the Goblin Man.
I love the Goblin Man. I want to play as him.
Game, when are we allowed to be Goblin Man? Oh, that's
I want
us,
a
okay.
dedicated button to go.
A goblin button?
Yeah.
Yes, please. I'm not gonna read all of the notes unless they look particularly funny. I've decided. What's here? Oh, cool, nothing. Great.
Nice.
Well, at least I have a run button now.
Nice.
That's nice. What's here? Ugh. Oh no, that's too many sounds at once. I don't understand a thing this man is saying. It's just is all I hear.
Goblin.
He might be.
Maybe this is who we just saw in the first stages of Goblinitis.
I wouldn't wish goblinitis on my worst enemies. What a way to go. Oh, okay.
Very gunked.
Incredibly gunked. Look,
Need
look!
a shower.
So gunked!
Probably need several showers.
Many.
Someone really big one.
Many shower. Where is the toy man?
Where is Toy Man? Where's the Toy Master? He's gonna take you to Toy Hell.
If only. What?
What's his name? Ray Ray. Fucking love Ray Ray.
Ray Ray was so good. Oh, is this man
Sure,
gonna
it's
tell me the
fun to
code?
serve the Dark Lord set.
Hail Satan! I'm gonna have to listen to these, aren't I?
451. Oh, it's the number from all the better video I get. Except you didn't have enough digits, so it's not 0451.
so they did it bad, is what you're saying.
Yeah, they did it kind of wrong.
They went the lazy approach, therefore, not as good. Tasty eats. Oh, do I
That's
just
my
like
favorite.
eat those immediately? Do I not have like an inventory?
Is this?
Do I-
Did they take that from Bioshock? They just hoover up all food that you ever glance over. You like open a
Please.
bin and there's like 3 different cakes in it, and you just eat them all instantly.
I guess. Well,
I did think that was the scariest part of Bioshock.
it's just how much man ate.
How much trash and just nonsense he was eating all the time. Every time I look through a filing cabinet, he's just taking a filing cabinet cake out of there and eating it.
It's his favorite.
Who filed this?
Also, I just realized I have a stamina bar, and I'm not happy about that.
Oh, jeez.
Oh boy! Oh, am I on a timer? Oh, okay. No. It just opened it fully, but the ticking sound with Wilson talking made it sound like it was a timer noise. Wilson, you have to stop. You have to stop talking. I don't understand what you're telling me.
Wilson, you gotta leave.
What?
Why did you do that? Why did you think that were a good idea?
Well, let's get stamina.
No one even said, would you kindly punch that Jew?
No one's shown it to you. No one's told you to do it. Oh, hey, keys. Oh, hey, cutscene. I mean, I can't say that punching a glass container is my first thought. Hi.
Very goblin, man.
Probably.
Oh, he's gurgling over there. Trying to work out what noises to do next time he encounters you. Oh, you got slugs.
I got. Is that money or bullets?
Oh,
It
slugs.
It. Totally understand. Fair. Great. Thank you for clarifying. Can I let go now? Thank you.
Just had to show you Dark Goofy for a while.
Not dark goof. Edgy
It's the
goof.
Goof sung the Evanescence song.
Okay, maybe
Wake
he's fine
me
actually. Wake me up inside. Who? Alright. I need to not think about Dark Goof anymore. You can't promise me a Dark Goof and not give me Dark Goof. That is a baby. That is a weird little goblin baby.
It's monkey.
Save my game anytime in the pause menu. Where? Not here. Not here. Not there. Oh. Oh, I have to save always.
Yeah.
There's no autosave then?
We have to remember to save more often than once an hour. Just in case.
Yeah. Wish game had an autosave feature. That would be lovely. You know, like every other video game ever. I guess I'm asking a little too much.
Bioshock actually does have autosaves, like constant
Yeah.
autosaves.
Yeah! I didn't want to hide, I just wanted to search.
And Amnesia?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So an interesting decision was made.
They have made a choice. That's locked. Great. Can I kick that? That looks breakable. Can I break that? Oh, I guess I don't need to. Okay. Hudson Doyle! Something about costing the studio a whole bunch of money in snacks alone. Well, maybe don't leave all your money out.
Got so many slug. What? That's not a hiding place. There's no front pat to that. You just basically just crouching.
You're just sitting there.
You just sitting. That's not a hiding place.
Game, I have concerns about what you consider hiding.
You just.
Can I hide in there?
You gotta be alive there. No one will find me in my mind palace.
Fuck. Okay, well, that's cool and neat, and I guess give me more of those. Is that... No.
Why can't we pick that up if we're looking for a weapon?
I don't know. Are we looking for a weapon? I assume I'm looking for a weapon.
Well, yeah, there's goblins around. There's monkeys.
Okay.
Oh, I guess we'd get the pipe now and then hit the clock is probably the thing of it. No?
Okay, well...
What do you mean?
Game? And
What do you mean, no?
There's no markers, so that's interesting. I don't have a card.
It looks like a big old bat, but with like some of the end sheet like broken off. It's you know you don't need the whole thing if it's a bludgeon.
No, you need the whole thing.
With like a proper handle.
Whole thing.
You can
Oh!
just use that.
Looks like he's having a bad day.
Demon follower. Can I get in there?
Can I follow the demon follower?
Well, he looks like he's got a pipe in his chest, which is not how pipes work, but, you know, that's fine.
It's how it works in Commando.
Is it?
Audrey, it's Alice. Can you hear me?
He shows a
Hello?
pipe and he goes all the way through the guy and he impales him against like a steam pipe
So glad you're
and
all
steam
My
starts coming out of the
God!
pipe that's going all the way through him.
Very
And then
different
Annie goes,
definitions of
let off
alright.
some steam, Bennett.
Animation department.
Wow,
meetings?
we.
Locked up
Because of the
tight.
steam.
Because of
Let's
the
go with
yeah,
it.
yes. Ah, I see what they've done there.
Maybe there's a jet pipe nearby.
It's good.
What was that?
There's something in here.
Audrey.
It's
find
just
that
the building
jet pipe
settling.
Now.
It's fine.
Yeah.
Okay, well I can't because it's
Oh, monkey.
that's
Why
why
he
is he
just punching you?
I don't know. Does he have teeth on his head? Sir? No, come back.
Oh, he's gone. Oh well.
Okay.
Bye.
I guess I don't need to find that pipe immediately, because it's fine, actually. The things will just run away after a moment. They don't care what's going on. Can I move this?
Just
Audrey,
a little guy.
I think you can move all this.
Yeah.
Get out of here, sir. I don't want to hear you. Game, I know that it's there. I saw it earlier.
There's the gent pipe. Way too dark in there.
You haven't even opened the door. How do you know it's too dark, Audrey? I have questions. And I don't think I'm going to get answers to any of them. That's locked.
If the question's why can't I go in there, it's because it's too dark.
Oh,
Open up.
I guess.
If I find you, I'm gonna rip your face off.
Oh,
Okay.
it's just a guy?
Just a dude.
I'm really mad and covered in ink.
I'm gonna
This
rip your
sucks.
face off! Ah!
Ah!
He's a goopy boy.
Oh,
Right.
he's damp?
He's
He's a very
squelching. What's
moist lad? Yeah?
he doing?
Oh, wait, his stick. Is that why we can't touch that?
But finders keepers.
It had his name on it.
Mm. Okay, well, find a better stick, I guess. No. Crackers!
Oh, nice find.
The monotone colors, little does make it a little difficult to find everything. Just use one of the other ones. Just use one of the other fuses.
Just swap one from anywhere.
Right?
What are you doing?
Oh my goodness. Okay, so
Yeah, with his stick. So you couldn't have stick.
but I wanted stick. Have we considered that I want it? Where is it trying to lead me? In here? No.
Is he gonna punch the wall down because he's mad?
Peek. Oh. No, why'd you stop crouching?
Did she peek?
She
Yeah,
peeked
peek
and then
and crouch.
But
There's no way you can do both of those things.
you're right.
Did he just talk over himself with the exact same voice line?
I think so. Oh wow. What a game, huh?
This isn't happening. This isn't happening.
I'm afraid to tell you. I think it is. Where? I don't hate that it's telling me where to go.
Because you wouldn't
But-
work out.
Yeah, but at the same time, consider making your level design better so that I could work out where to go. Because at this point, what's the point of me like searching? Can I eat that? That right there was a donut, and I wanted it.
The weird, like, muted color that does mean it's like kind of hard for the game to point things out to you without just putting an objective marker on it.
Yeah, I mean, like, I would be fine with an objective marker on it if it, like, was where it is, so you have a general, like, direction to go.
Yeah.
But, no, it's just gonna tell me constantly which way to head. That's fine. Can you crouch, man? On your way out of? Don't look at me.
This is an apple.
Gross.
Is that fine? He didn't see it?
It's fine. He was too busy chewing on whatever.
You can't look and snack at the same time.
Yeah, obviously.
But I saw him. I did.
Perfect hiding spot. He'd
I-
never see us as soon as he walked in that room.
I can't tell where he is. Can I go over that? No? Okay, so we'll just go in here then, instead. Close that,
Yeah.
please? Nope. Alright.
Why are we allowed to close doors?
Oh, hey! Trash witch!
Oh, trash slab of meat.
Perfect. Beautiful. Why is there
Also
a fuse in
trash
this cake?
cake.
Well, happy birthday to me.
That's... No.
Can we eat the trash cake, though?
That man is coming in
Literally,
here.
We just switched the fuse from the kitchen, and we'd never have had to go to the kitchen
Right?
to get the fuse.
Sir, you have to go? Yes. I don't believe in you. Why is he so goopy?
It's got ink.
I mean, when he
Yeah.
talks. Oh. Keep going. I know you're on patrol. I know you're not gonna wander past what you've already done. So if you could walk a little faster, that'd be nice. This boy is so slow.
So you need to move
Wilson
and
knows
let
our
us
purpose.
leave.
What is it? What is it?
We're just gonna go this way. And
Yes,
it's gonna
go
be
on out.
fine. Ooh.
Beautiful.
Oh. Okay.
Always
Well-
squelching. They make very silly sounds.
You'll never see. Wait, did he really lose me?
Are you gonna jump
Oh.
up in front of the dog? 'Cause it's been a long time and I'm starting to think he's not gonna jump up in front of the door.
Oh my god. Oh. It's just Pipe Man again.
Person I see.
What the fuck?
Just wait and see.
So they've got the edgy voice lines like Outlast. Cool.
Oh, what did he say? I wasn't listening.
I'm gonna kill the next person I see. Just you watch. I'm gonna do it, or some bullshit like that.
Edgy Outlast voice lines, but for kids. So that
but for
oh,
children.
I'm gonna bop someone on the noggin with this pipe. I've had it up to here.
It's just the. It's just like, guy, there's no one around. It's fine. You can be chill, actually. Nothing. Oh, just go. Well, I don't have a marker now, so...
It's the
Well,
door at the other end, right? The one that we couldn't go in earlier because it's too dark.
Is it?
The one he
I
was
mean,
walking over to. Yeah, it's gotta be, right?
Yeah, I mean, like, I know...
We had to turn on the fucking light and they took 100 steps, so we could have just moved the fuse over.
Oh, yeah, there it is. Okay. Look, I don't know where anything is. Well... Oh! Well, this is a
Oh,
problem.
that's a problem. Oh no.
Sir, I
Can you
just
move?
want to scooch.
You should have tried to just duck under that thing and see if he didn't crouch to follow you.
Yeah.
That would move.
Yeah.
Are we narrower if we turn sideways? Sometimes you are in these games. It's not. Doesn't
Nope.
seem like it.
Nope.
Can we
Okay.
trade you some gent pats for not hitting us any more times?
Oh!
Oh, lovely.
Oh, it's like the things. What were those? What were those called in BioShock?
Vita chambers.
Yeah.
It's actually
Oh.
right back where you were with the men facing the wrong way.
Yeah. So okay, death it doesn't
Lovely.
matter actually. We spawned with like half health, but oh
But
well.
then you found bacon soup on the first shelf you passed. Now you're on full health.
And it's fine.
I'll be leaving some clues around.
Wow.
Find them later. Just remember.
Wow, wow, wow.
Wasn't my idea. So here's my
There's
first
nothing in there.
I finally found a use for those silly
Chips.
motivational posters here
Eat
in the
Tasty
atrium
Eats
office.
original
They're
chips.
sure to make quite an
I'm gonna eat
impact.
Tasty's
I
eat
can't believe I just
original
said
eat.
that.
I'm gonna eat eats his eats.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, okay, there's the thing. Well,
Hi.
I know as soon as I pick it up, I'm gonna, like, get jumped, because that's just how these things work.
I think Goopman's gonna show up, or do you think Monkey's gonna come back? Like drop down from the ceiling and hunk at you, right in your noggin.
Rob, right into my noggin. Maybe it's gonna be Goopman. I don't know. This guy's gonna come back to life, maybe.
Oh yeah,
At
that'd do
least
it.
now I can defend myself.
That's a Goopman
jiggle.
right there.
Left mouse button to attack. Alright.
Guy out run through with a wrench. Interesting use of that.
Cool! Great! I would like to beat somebody with... Oh! Okay.
He sploop.
He went... Doop! After I took his stuff.
You really wanted that gent pat or whatever it was.
No, it's mine. Did that open? No. No, of course not. Of course it didn't open. Where did the man come from? The machine
Got mad
must
because he took the
endure.
pipe.
Well, it's my pipe. He had his own pipe.
His pipe senses triggered and he just ran on over there.
Can I break this? Hell yeah, I can.
Nice.
Eat that sandwich.
That's a sandwich we'd never have found if we didn't smash that wall. This is great. Metroidvania.
What a good game! I love it. It's the guy. It's Abe. Oh,
Abe, why did you do that?
I didn't think it was gonna break. That
Oh.
Wilson, he's everywhere, yet he's nowhere. That's all I'm gonna read of that.
Something was madness! Madness!
The door makes funny noises.
It's just a little. You think with all the goop everywhere, we could properly lubricate these things. Oh, you eat a lot of trash sandwiches in this. I'm glad that they carried that aspect of it.
I mean, it's a staple. You got it, right?
Absolutely.
Beans! Oh, bacon soup,
that's
actually.
bacon?
Excuse me. I can only eat the one donut.
Well, yeah, someone's had a bite out of the other one.
Yeah, and? By 5 what? Oh.
You eat Bendy bar.
I at bed bar.
You eat Bendy bar.
I'm having strong cobondulance.
Call the pendulums.
Call the pendulum. No. Abe. Big Abe.
Why Abe's so big? This one's impervious.
It's because he's big.
It's too powerful.
Oh, right. I'm supposed to be breaking this, huh?
Yeah.
It's.
I didn't realize you'd forgot. I thought you were exploring.
I mean, I was exploring, but I also forgot. Because the game stopped telling me where to go. Look, if the game is going to consistently tell me where I'm supposed to go, then I'm just not going to do anything until it tells me to go somewhere.
Pretty sure
can't-
everything we did in the whole game was to, like, find a stick to hit that padlock with.
Yeah.
That's all I'd remembered.
Also, God, it's so loud.
Oh, that's why it's not super loud for me. I have it turned down to half.
It's not the loudest it's been, but it's still pretty loud. I could still hear you while it was being loud, so that's an improvement.
That's a good sign. Damn.
Eagle squeak. Also, I love that we're just, like, not going to comment on the fact that the ink got weird at us.
That's fine.
Yeah, this is fine. Hi, Gunkus. Well, now I can't see you.
Now we don't know if it's too dark in there, and we have to go fuck around for half an hour to be able to go in.
You don't have to kill me. Okay.
You were winding up to buff him on the head when it just interrupted you with a cutscene.
Yeah. Oh, she got skelly face.
Oh.
Use your powers to send monsters back to the dark puddles while crouched and undetected. Interact with an enemy from behind to banish them. Banishing also restores part of your health.
You're saying we have a stealth kill? Oh my god, that's so much louder than everything else.
Holy
never
shit.
do that. We know
Yeah,
now.
we're never banishing anything ever again.
Is it? What is it? This shouldn't be acceptable. Every
Cool.
review of this game should just be fix the fucking sound, you fuck.
Right though? Look, I've turned it down. I have manually turned it down the sounds. You should not be making me deaf. That's not how this works. What is this?
When half of the sounds are too quiet now, the other half of the sound shouldn't be actually deafening.
Right? What have I done?
Gent?
Gent.
Gent. We got batteries, we got Gent, we got table. I'd say you've done a good job here today.
Excuse me.
Full goblin. Is he okay? Is this fine? It's got that Skyrim combat. Oh, you just went back in.
Oh,
And now we can go in.
Audrey, that is a choice that you have just made, that I don't know that I approve of. I wanted to open it and beat the man, but you know, that's fine, I
Keep
guess.
whacking him.
Yeah. Listen, I have a weapon now. Let me do a smack. Nope, that's a hide again. Fuck off.
One of them is like treasure, and then the identical one next to it is for hiding.
Yeah, and it's the ones that have the little vents that are hiding, and the ones that don't are for looting. But I'm never going to pay attention that closely to, you know, not just spam eat what? Okay.
Cool.
So
Good
I
job.
can unlock that thing from earlier? That? Okay.
Huh.
I don't know that was particularly worth it, but hello?
I think it just paused again.
Oh, okay. It was so loud. Oh.
Yeah, everything's so loud. That's how the game works. Everything's too loud or too quiet.
Yeah, you're right. You're so right. Oh, I have to push it this way. Actually, why allow me to push it one way if that's not going to resolve the issue? Someone got lazy with their programming and said, I don't want to make it specific to where we put it. Understood.
Had a busy day of fixing the audio levels after that, so you know
That's it.
they had to phone it in, had to rush that one.
I see. That's a lot of guys. They just hold on. It looked like they like tripped or something all at the same time. Do you want to come here?
This combat though,
It's just me whacking them with a stick. Can I get some health?
the old stand and whack, nothing beats that.
Standing.
Well, if you
whack.
die, you'll just come back. So like,
It's true.
in the same spot. So like, don't worry about it. It's fine.
Yeah.
Hey, just that easy.
Bloop.
Probably wants you to stealth kill them, but you know, it's
No.
not worth doing
It's
the
not.
actual damage to our physical ears. To...
Right. I need a butcher gang. Charlie! No, your name is Abe.
That's Abe.
Edgar!
Heals your in-game health a little bit, but it drains your in real life health a little bit too. So you know, it's a trade-off.
Survive in the game, you die in real life.
Yeah.
It's one of those situations. Okay. Can I... Why have I unlocked? Oh, are you talking to me? It's like Ryan Land or whatever. I don't remember what it was called. Can you stop talking? Oh my god.
Oh, it really does want us to watch all this.
But it's not gonna give me captions, so I can't fucking understand anything that's being said.
Yeah, they fucked the audio and then didn't put in captions, even though subtitles is set to on. It's just not on.
It's only on for cutscenes. Because that's the only thing that you need to listen to, right? Okay, can I,
It's weird
like, turn
to lock
you
you
on
in
at the same
this
time?
Stupid room for this long.
Oh my
Oh,
god,
no,
sorry.
good.
We'll just move over here so it's a little better. Like,
Yeah,
this is a choice.
yeah.
Oh, just look at Dark Goof.
Hey, that goof. Sorry we murdered all your friends except Bendy there. Sorry we murdered all your friends, Dark Goof.
This is how you release Dark Goof, actually. Is you do a murder. God, that one's still going, huh?
Is how you make it want someone to wake him up inside.
Yep. God, stop talking!
Do we do a thing here, or like, is there like a objective or like a goal that we could accomplish, or
Good question. Don't
are
have.
we winning?
I think we're trying to find a way to get past the like. Yeah, we're trying to
The
cross the
ravine, yeah.
abyss.
But,
Search
like-
Animation Alley.
Is this Animation Alley? Where's that? This
Yeah.
is Animation Alley. There's nothing here. We searched.
Don't have nothing here. I am gonna scream if this unlocks once this is done. This is too long to wait.
It's been like 5 minutes.
Oh.
Oh no, I'm scared.
Oh, so terrifying. Open!
Please open the door. Please open the door. Please open the door, Cal. Cal's gonna open the door.
I don't think Carl's gonna do much of anything anymore. Oh my god, finally? Please open.
Please open the door. Anyone
This
on
is-
the door?
What a time, huh? What a good video game. Just as good as BioShock.
He didn't open the door.
I'm gonna scream.
Give us batteries if we don't have any?
Maybe? Pretty sure I still have them. Can I still can't do anything with that?
Is there like 1 pixel of that you can click? I don't know what's happening.
Found food.
Oh, lovely. You got crispy crackers.
Well, and I went in here, right? And
Yeah,
then
I think so.
we flipped
Yeah,
that,
didn't that
which
open the door?
that opened that door.
Yeah.
Can't flip it again. Okay.
And now just
Hmm.
nothing does anything.
Oh. It didn't stop. It wouldn't let me stop. Or like it would let me stop. It just did not stop me.
You
There was no
expected it
invisible.
to tell you no. You can't just walk over
Yeah!
the edge.
I was expecting too much. I know. Okay, well.
Technically, you just healed from that, by the way. That was a good idea.
LOL!
That was a tactical death that we took. We have to be on half health for this next section, or we're gonna lose some frames.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay.
So, there must be a place to put in a battery, right? Or it won't be giving us batteries.
Yeah. Well, I put a battery in the
And
table
the
over
thing
there.
outside, but that doesn't do anything.
Yeah. Oh.
It's not. Oh, never mind. I'm thinking about it too hard, apparently.
Wow, what a great
Very intuitive.
very easy to see. Definitely didn't get lost in there because we're in our final days here, I can tell. Okay, bud. Can you Okay, great. Slugs. Pull the lever, Kronk! Is it open now? Is Animation Alley open now? Did I really just stand around listening to these people fucking talk for 10 million years?
Two of
With-
them at the same time with no subtitles, so no.
Oh my god. Oh my god! It's fine. Okay.
Oh no.
Look at the little guy!
It's
That's just-
Bendy.
That's just a baby right there.
It's a baby.
That's a little baby guy. Aye. I'm not gonna hurt you, little one.
Bendy?
Bendy.
Real? Oh, this is amazing. It's okay. I won't hurt you.
Yet.
Promise. It's okay.
I get you trained, Bendy.
See?
Done.
I'm your friend. I won't hurt you. Oh my gosh. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know that would happen. I promise.
Can't
Wow.
believe you do that to Bendy.
Damn it, Audrey.
Can't believe you'd explode, Bendy.
Look, I did go into this game promising to bend a bendy.
Yeah, we are gonna murder that man. That was a ruse the whole time. We were gonna smash him with the pipe.
we are here to do a murder. Is the
We
thing. Can I-
accidentally hit him with a fireball while we were preparing to bop him with the pipe.
Yeah. No visitors, go away. Don't knock. Well, no one's home. It's fine. I did see that I could do a thing that there's nothing in anything. Why do I even bother?
Sometimes there's trash sandwiches.
There are sometimes trash sandwiches. Trash sandwiches.
Is that you, Phil? I told you I'm not opening
Hey, it's
the
me,
door
Phil.
until you bring me my pictures. I drew them. I want them back.
Okay. Are you shitting me right now? Alright. Well, where is all of this Animation Alley?
It's
Okay.
just so okay. We're locked in. It's fine. It's gotta be in this room.
Picture? Are they on the other side? No. Do I go through here into maintenance? What? Audrey just opened the door.
It's so dark in there. We better go look for fuses first.
Please. Okay. Well, hold on a second. My face itches. I'm sorry. Okay.
I thought you were getting a phone call or something.
No! Just had
An
a
itch?
very
Face itch.
sudden, very intense itch on my cheek, and I needed to address it immediately. This is probably a dead end, right? Because it's the obvious path. Yeah. Yeah.
Is it on the other side, or is that a different ravine?
I think this is a different ravine.
That's a different ravine.
Because that's a dead end. The power belongs to him. Okay. God, we're so slow down here.
It's scary, Kish. It's building anticipation.
I would. Oh, thanks.
His eyes see all, his claws tear and thrash, his whispers turn your mind into dark, unspeakable trash.
You could do better rhymes.
I think it said, don't try and hit the ink demon with your pipe.
I'm gonna try
That's
and
what that note said.
I am going to try and hit the ink demon with my pipe. You cannot tell me what to do. Ink demon, watch out. I'm your worst fucking nightmare.
Oh dang, you got reach. Someone's about to get bopped.
That's all I heard. Oh, hey! That's what I'm about to do to that ink demon. Can he?
You are the ink demon.
Right? Can he speak just a tiny bit faster?
Instead of droning on.
Alright. Oh god, we're gonna take 10 million years to be in here.
Yeah, but we're building anticipation.
Is it?
This ink demon's talking, and he's very frightening.
So scary. This is gonna be you in a minute, ink demon.
You're gonna make that exact noise, ink demon, when I bump you.
It's gonna be great. Oh, just kidding. So not all of that. God, it's miserable in here. Not all of the things with vents are hiding. This one had vents. And I could think with the memories.
Memories!
All alone in the
stored
moonlight?
In the pause menu.
Great, perfect.
Memories all alone in the pause menu.
Gotcha! Broke your wrist. Audrey, we're not scared. Audrey, we're not. It's
I'm
fine.
scared.
He's probably just a silly little guy, and with
It's a silly
like
big
a.
guy.
The ink demon is near. His power is infinite. His evil is complete. Fuck off.
He's a bad lad. But it's fine, because if you hide it in one of these crates where you can see clearly into it, he'll have no idea.
He'll never know we're here.
No one could ever spot you there.
Alright, well, that's a goopy goop. Oh, it's one of the pictures. Okay, well. Sir, that's disgusting.
You should get that scene too.
Yeah, alright. This is horrible.
All right, that's the audio log.
Yup.
I was gonna say it was cool as in like the low level of audio. Like saying a different thing, but then I realized the audio log
No.
was playing.
See,
Yeah,
that
no,
would be
that's an
really
accident.
cool. That would be really neat. But no, it's because I picked up an audio log.
Yeah. It's just like this extra layer of commentary without subtitles over the top of it all.
Watch my movements. See my frames of animation. I have so many characters to animate yet.
I have such sights to show you.
But for now,
Okay.
tick tock, tick tock.
Well, I'm glad Bill Danton had a good fun time with that.
I know that there must have been some weird cliche garbage, but there's no way of telling what he said. Don't check. I don't want to know if the game can't just tell me by telling me that what he's saying when he's saying it. But like, I can only imagine. Oh, the Ink Demon's coming.
Okay, well, where is he?
You gotta hide.
Oh,
Oh, there he was. I don't think he was there actually.
yeah, there was definitely nothing there like 2 seconds ago. Oh!
Oh.
Oh, there is an
Also,
autosave.
Because that was gonna be a. Oh well, guess the game's over.
Abso-fucking-lutely it would have been. Still very well might be. We'll see. This is...
It's fine.
I
Where
have to go
have
through
you-
the... I have to go through the vents again.
Vents are very slow. In... Oh yeah, no, you're right. This is where we picked up the audio log.
Okay, well...
He's talking over himself.
Yeah, this is...
This guy, he talks so slow.
so slow. It's ridiculous. This should not be... I get having like a specific delivery that you want for something, but I
Also-
need him to speed it up, especially if you're just gonna stack audio on top of each other, because you don't know how to not.
Additionally, the voice for like your super evil villain in your horror game probably shouldn't be the same voice as what's his name, the Dr. Claw or whatever, Inspector Gadget's enemy. You should probably think of a different voice.
No, hear me out. It should be Dr. Claw.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Because I don't know if it was what they were going for, but at some point this voice, it ended up Dr. Claw. I'm sorry.
Maybe that's what they were going for. Maybe they just really love Inspector Gadget.
Oh, they hate Inspector Gadget and want to get him. Like Dr. Claw.
Like Dr. Fucking hell. Wowee. What a game, huh?
Yeah.
This might just be a one weekend thing. I don't know if I have the
Yes.
patience to get through this whole game.
This might be a one-off.
Yeah.
It was very funny though.
It was very funny, and I feel incredibly validated at just assuming that it was garbage from what I had heard and vaguely seen. This is confirmed that it is indeed. There was,
Oh,
but
wow. What are you gonna do?
I'm gonna
It
walk
sounds-
away. But I'm
Sounds
annoyed.
Dodge's Claws?
I'm not happy at the fact that I just spent a card just to get robbed. Oh, I got another card.
Oh. Well, this time.
Okay, well, give me this. And are you gonna jump at me now? No. Okay, well. That's fine, I guess. Great, more batteries. Love
We
that.
have a lot of weird crud that I have no idea what it is or how to use it.
Same.
We
Or
can put
as
those
for-
batteries into the tables and it won't do anything, but there will be a battery in the table and it'll light up a little bit. We have
That's-
that power.
That's cool. Love that for us. I like making tables be lit up.
Yeah, it's the bad flickering light, but still. Previously there was no light.
We said, let there be light.
Yeah.
I don't need that, but if I see it, oh, it's Bill again.
Oh no, Bill.
It's fine. I managed to make him stop, apparently. What's here? Here's the trouble. Everything looks the same.
Yeah. And you walk really slowly and you crouch walk even slower.
Yeah.
And there's no objective marker or nothing anymore.
I need to get into here.
How in?
It looks like there's from up? I get in from up?
How up?
How up?
Have we been up there? And we just didn't know how to drop down? We've been up somewhere.
Yeah, I don't know where though.
Well, I think the man's gonna be here soon. 'Cause
'Cause
the
you
heartbeat
can
thing's going
hear.
up.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe not.
It's just ambient sound. Oh.
I thought it said when you hear a heartbeat, man's coming, but apparently it didn't.
I mean, maybe it did, and then it broke. That seems like a
That's-
thing the game would do.
That's possible.
Okay, there's nothing there. How do I go? Where vent?
Let's go
Vent?
through the vent. Hit vent.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of vent either. Can't say I like vent. So the next game we're gonna play. What are we thinking? Kadalka is an option. It's the
Good.
the Fire Emblem horror thingy.
And I won't know anything about it other than that you said it's like Fire Emblem and horror.
Yeah, I mean that's more or less all I know about it.
Do we have to
Okay.
drop down from a specific... Is it right underneath us?
No, because we can access that. From
Are we in the
here.
wrong room?
We might be.
Where go? Where go?
Well, there weren't any other options in that vent, right? So,
That's a bad vent, I guess.
well, wait, unless
There's a wall. Yeah, it's right underneath us, but there's no way in.
no, there is. This is the way.
Oh.
Okay, I am confused.
Oh,
Oh.
Inkman's coming.
Okay, go away, Inkman.
Bye, Ink Demon.
This
Jeez.
is just a very annoying thing that I have to do every so often, and then I have to hear him grumble.
And you go. Blah, 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 blah.
That's- Okay. I've learned how to make the men stop talking without opening the
Nice.
menu, and I love that for me.
Yeah, it's a big improvement.
Makes things very nice. We're back.
What the fuck are we?
Yeah.
Where is anything? How is there
That's-
still another one?
I don't know. I don't want to be around anymore. Did I go up that way last time?
I think you went
I
up
did.
that way. I think you
This
didn't
way?
go straight. Yeah.
Okay.
No,
There's
this
stuff.
is the way I don't think you went.
Yeah. Excuse me?
Inkman, get off the vent.
Ooh, oh. Okay.
Why does everything lead to nothing when you go this slow?
Good question. It's just a way to pad the game and make it feel longer than it is, and I think that's a bad thing. I think they've done a bad thing with that.
They tried to keep the slow motion away from the dialogue, but any scene without dialogue was considered for slow motion. Have we been?
Okay, we've
hit
been
this
in there.
a lot. This sucks.
Yeah, this is
A
not
lot.
good. So then over here? No, because we've been there as well, because the vent's broken.
It's not
Hey.
even like.
Game, do we have a
Like,
map?
You have 1 stamina.
I need to find extra cheese.
Must
Damn it.
find additional cheese.
Gotta get that cheese log.
Give me that cheese. I need that cheese. It's not even like, you're going around, like, sneaking around and the spooky boys out there. Because at this point, I think it's been well established that every 2 notes you pick up, the guy appears. And then you just hide in a crate and it's fine.
Yeah. Okay, so it's in
so-
there.
This is the one we couldn't get to before. What is
Yeah.
this? It's impervious.
There's a thing there. There's an entrance there. But I don't know how to get there because,
Because it's a
it's
maze.
a vent. And yeah.
It's a vent maze. A maze where you walk particularly slowly.
Probably shouldn't have come through here. Ugh. Unless I can go up this way? I can go up this way.
Oh.
And then can I loop to the left? Kind of. Oh! Can we go to the
I think
right?
we've tried this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Does
Wait.
any possible way lead to the area we need to go to? That crate's stopping you from being able to, like, drop down into the right area, isn't it? No?
Maybe?
I don't even.
No, because this is the other one that we saw.
Yeah,
That- Game, I
hate
know.
this, and it
I
sucks, and I'm
Yeah.
bored.
Same. Same. I need to be in here.
Can you jump in this game? Is the physics? Can we stack boxes and, like, climb over the wall?
True to amnesia. Oh, Hold on. hold on. Can I?
Think you can Skyrim this?
No, because she falls like a fucking rock.
Oh.
And the grate's in the way there.
Oh.
Game, I'm
We've been
bored.
everywhere. We've been in every place and nothing leads in the right direction.
Ugh. Alright. What other games do we have? Making the choice right now, because this is infuriating. Look, it was gonna be a funny joke that we were playing the Bendy game.
Funny, and then it's
And then the joke got
was-
old.
just very boring in this stupid room.
I'm gonna keep Bendy up just for a hot second. What do I have on my emulator? Hey, do we want a PlayStation 1 or a PlayStation 2 game?
Oh, what you got on PlayStation 2?
Let me see. I have to find my folders first.
Alright.
By my folders I mean the wonderful list that my butler has for me.
Yeah, your folders of pictures that he's taken of your PlayStation 2 game collection.
My massive collection of video game. We have Fatal Frame 2, which the controls for are much better than the original Fatal Frame. I'll give it that. I have Kuon, which is that FromSoft horror game.
Ooh.
I've got Obscure, which is a very silly old horror game.
Them for very silly old horror games.
Can see if we can. I know Obscure can be played single player, but it's like meant to be a co-op game, which is interesting.
And this don't really count.
No.
I'll pick up a controller and I'll play Mario Kart and press all the buttons.
Perfect. I figured that we could maybe do Obscure whenever the kidnapping happens.
Ooh,
If I
okay,
can manage
we'll save
to-
that for now then.
Yeah, if I can manage to like figure out how to like, I'm sure it's not too hard to get 2 controllers plugged into my computer and make that happen, but you know, that's a thing. Silent Hill 2, Silent Hill 3. I'm doing Rule of Rose right now. Clock Tower 3, which is the very not Clock Tower, but also incredibly Clock Tower.
Oh.
It's a weird magical girl game, basically,
Oh.
but in the style of like Clock Tower. I say in the style, it is like
I don't understand.
it's bizarre, basically. You're not meant to understand. It's weird. Probably have a couple of other ones in here, but those are the only ones that I can find at the moment. My games are a mess is the thing.
I could fire whatever up. It's not gonna be long, right? We did like an hour and a half of this. Is
Yeah.
how far we made it into Bendy.
Oh god, is that how? Oh my god. Oh my god, I'm never getting this hour and a half back.
To be fair, I think we spent like half an hour just lost in this room.
That's true, but that's time I will never get back.
Yeah, oh yeah, it's gone now.
Oh,
We're older and sadder for having experienced this.
honestly. At that point, we could probably just call it here. That's it. That's
Okay.
Bendy.
Is
Um,
the website up? Or is that tomorrow?
Oh, no, that's a good question. I meant to check this
We
morning
could
and then...
do that after stream.
Yeah! Let me check real fast on stream and make everyone hear me talk about the thing. It's fine. No, it's not up yet. Unless there's a new link that I haven't found. I'll look for that afterwards. Main menu. Get me the fuck out of here. Bendy, bad game. Don't play it. Not begin. I want to quit.
Cash received this for free. Do not buy this game.
I got it for free. Oh, I got some. I forgot to turn off my sounds, but it just dumped 5 different achievements on me after exiting out of the game.
Wow.
I've got complete chapter 1. Meet up with an old friend. Clean up the exhibit. Armed and ready. Which is find your first weapon and obtain the banish power.
I will say, I think if it's a horror game, that's a better way of doing it than giving you achievements as you go in, because then it like
Absolutely.
goes boop and interrupts what you're doing. So
This does
it's
remind
nicer
me
it gives you when you
too.
close the game.
For
Sorry.
real. No, you're fine. Yeah, no, it is. I think in general it'd just be nice to not have them show up during. I mean, for most games, I'd be fine with it not showing up until afterwards. But also I just need those to stop doing the thing. I have my settings open, so I'll deal with that later. We're just gonna end stream. We're not gonna raid or nothing today.
Oh jeez.
Just because it's fine. I also don't think that like there are many people in chat at the moment, so it would just be us moving over, so we can
It was...
go somewhere.
Yeah. The Bendy crowd didn't come out for this. So
Thank God.
I've been doing my level 1 Kingdom Bend only run.
Maybe even the Bendy people know that this is a bad video game.
It's possible.
But
Maybe there
yeah.
never were any Bendy people.
That's for the best, I think. So yeah, we'll figure out a game for tomorrow or next weekend, depending on what we're doing. And yeah. General reminder, I guess this is more a reminder for, Fruity, and I guess anyone if they check out the VOD when I upload it to YouTube. We are 2 weeks away? Officially 2 weeks away from the charity stream. So 2 weeks from today, August 5th, and August 6th, we'll be doing I will be doing Disco Elysium, for a charity stream trying to raise $150 for the Trevor Project. So hey, reminder that that's a thing, and I will remind everyone next week as well. But for now, I guess that's it. We're donezo. No more Bendy. We've done it. We've done the Bendy. All done. All right. We'll see
That's
y'all.
the end of Bendy. Weird that it stops right there in that stupid room.
Right?
That's
It's a
just a maze of bad
strange
vents.
ending. But, I guess they can't argue with the artist. They know what they're doing.
Yeah. Must
Thanks for playing this bad video game with me, Fruity.
anytime.
Perfect. But yeah.
But
we're
never
gonna go.
again. But
Never.
anytime.
Anytime, but never this. Never this
Yeah.
again. Please, dear God. But yeah, that's it. I'm gonna stop streaming now. Alright, goodbye.
Bye.